Good morning to everyone, distinguished guests, colleagues. It's a huge pleasure to me to be again here in Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, and thank you, Mark, for invitation. My topic, women, human rights in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We actually do everything to promote women human rights in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but with not huge results. Women and girls are frequently exposed to serious forms of violence, especially physical and verbal violence, violence in the family, psychological violence, sexual violence, and rape. These and other forms of violence against women are a serious breach of women's human rights and are the main obstacles to achieving gender equality. Statistics show that 1 in 3 women in the world is a victim of violence and that the perpetrators are frequently their current or former partners. The situation is similar in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where violence against women and domestic violence have been considered a private issues for years. The attitude that will still and is still widespread today. 52.8% of women over the age of 15 in Bosnia and Herzegovina have experienced some form of violence. In 2013, a study on the incidence of violence against women in Bosnia and Herzegovina and its characteristics was conducted on a sample of 3,300 households. The study found that 1 in every 4 women was a victim of violence, and that 1 in every 10 had been a victim of violence in the past year. This study found that women aged 18-24 are the most frequent victims and that women from rural areas are disproportionately affected. It is also important to note that women frequently cannot identify that violence is being perpetrated against them and they don't perceive themselves as victims. Only 5.5% of those exposed to violence ask for help or support. The research also found that physiological violence is the most frequent form of violence women are exposed to, as well as combination of psychological and physical violence. Bosnia and Herzegovina is the one country who signed Convention on the Prevention and Combating Violence Against Women in Domestic Violence in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We also have some problems to implement all these measures that we signed, because I don't know if you know, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a very complex country because we have 13 levels of governments. We have our roof, that is state level. We have 2 entities, and one entity, a Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, has 10 cantons, and each canton has his own government. And it is very complex to implement every strategy and each convention that we as a state signed. We have a problem also with crime issues. So in 2003, violence against women was for the first time recognized as a crime in the criminal law of federation, that is one level of government. Similar changes were achieved in Republika Srpska, that is other entity of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we also have District Brčko, it is small, only 1% of our territory, and it is also own government for itself. In 2005, the law on combating domestic violence Federation Bosnia and Herzegovina was passed, and it was changed and amendment in 2013. Law on combating domestic violence Federation for Bosnia and Herzegovina 2013 prescribes protective measures and stipulates for the victims to be placed in the safe houses. The law on combating domestic violence of Republika Srpska was adopted in 2005. The family law in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republika Srpska also tackled this issue. But we have problem with Brčko district, where this law law on combating domestic violence was still not being passed. That means that we have in Bosnia and Herzegovina territorially discrimination in this issue, not only women's human rights, but in human rights at all. That means that if you are living in Sarajevo and you have this, Sarajevo is a part of Federation Bosnia and Herzegovina, you have this law and you can be protected. But if you are living in Brčko district, other territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina, you don't have this law and you cannot be protected. That is a problem. If you allowed me, I will also say something about the human rights at all today when we can see what is happening in Syria, in Aleppo. Why? Because Bosnia and Herzegovina, as a state in 1992, 1995, was in the war. Me personally, as a child, 8 years old girl, I was in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the war, and I know what was happened and what is happening in Aleppo, Syria today. That is also an appeal, that is also something that we can here today discuss on this topic, human rights. We can also send a message, why the message and why is it important? Because me, as a little girl in Bosnia and Herzegovina, daily I was asking myself, okay, we have war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have Srebrenica, we have Sarajevo, we have Posavina, Krajina, and other. All country was in the war. We have also in Croatia, Vukovar. After the war, we have had also in Belgrade. Something was happening with NATO in Belgrade. But the world was quiet. Actually, after Srebrenica, after the genocide in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the world was someone who said, stop the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think we have today the same pictures in Aleppo, the same pictures like in Srebrenica. We should send from here, from Berlin, from Germany, that the most powerful states, military states, should do everything to stop the war in Aleppo. Why? Because every day the innocent people, innocent children are killing, they lost their lives for what? My appeal to you, to send the message from Berlin, from Germany, that we should do everything to stop the war in Aleppo, Syria. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much too. If you let us, I will invite you again to give chance to our audience for questions and comments. Yes, the first question is coming here.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth. I'm from the University of San Diego. What are some campaigns or what are some actions that Bosnia and Herzegovina is taking to combat domestic violence?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this question. I forgot to mention this year, actually, we have very respectful NGOs and civil society organizations in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this year, our 16 days campaign against domestic and violence against women, we call it this year, the silence is not a gold. Actually, every year we have this 16-day activism for combating and prevention violence against women and domestic violence. But I can say this year it was very good organized, and we have had all attentions from the media. Why is it important? Because in media in Bosnia and Herzegovina are also dependent on political elite, I would say, and that is very problem to achieve all media to have attention for human rights topic. But this year it was we are satisfied, and that was very successful. And I will say we send a message that the women and NGOs, civil society organization will never stop, but we have problem in political life of Bosnia and Herzegovina. We don't have enough women in politics. For example, on state level, only 10 women from 42, that is 24% of House of Representatives on state level. On other levels, under 20%. And that is problem because I don't know is in your country so, but male MPs, they think this issue, actually issue or topic human rights is something that only women should speak about it. And that is a problem because I'm actually the one who is the youngest one, and I talk about this, but also the women in parliamentary assembly, they don't support it enough, these topics, and I'm not satisfied also with these women in parliamentary assembly. But we started this campaign, and I think maybe 2017 and 18 we will have more, because in 2018 we will have elections, and we will have more women in parliament.
In all human beings, frustration leads to aggression. It may be expressed verbally or physically, and it's expressed mostly on people who are very close to them, like wife or husband, or on governments as well. When there is problems with the economy, and people are having problems at work, and also family problems, they feel frustrated, they take the aggression out on the ones who are the nearest to them. That's the wife or the husband. This is to do with a poor economy and poor moral and cultural values. So what is your side doing in terms of improving those problems?
Economic in Bosnia and Herzegovina, to say only 50% of our people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, our citizens, are without job. From this 50%, 50% are 50, yeah. Unemployment rate. 60% of this 50% are women. Women they depend on the men who have a work, and we have problem also that we have no enough places in safe houses. That means when I'm a woman without job and I have violence against me or in my family, actually I don't have enough support from society, from governments to have safe houses, to have some place, or to have some chance to find a job. And in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we received questionnaire from European Union, and I see only if we get, or if we will be a part of European Union, that we can be more under this 50% without job. That is actually, economically situation is very, very hard for every citizen, each citizen in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but women most than male.
Thank you very much for your very fine presentation. Since I know pretty good the situation there and around in the former Yugoslavia, did you find any difference in distribution of violence according to the cultural segments? Or in another way, did you find differences in violence done by Serbian, Muslim, Bosniak, or Croatian citizens? Since violence is partly connected to the culture, specific culture based on religion too, by Islamic culture, women are very protected, mostly kept at home, more than otherwise. So do you have some reactions on this? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. I think that we are actually very patriarchal and traditional society. That is also that we are in Yugoslavia in communism, and somebody of new generation will say that is because we were a part of Yugoslavia. I don't think so. I think that we have problems with our to open our minds with our way of thinking and point of view. That means that study 2030 show us that policeman, who is actually the one when I have some problems in my flat, in my house, I call policemen. They are coming, and if I as a woman say, my man is actually violence against me, he said, it's not what he have done, nothing. You see, you are on your legs. Is everything okay with you? That is because it is totally normal for some people in Bosnia Herzegovina to be violence against women. And that is something that the family of the women said, you are now married, I don't care what is happening in your flat, in your house. A point of view is very difficult to change in Bosnia Herzegovina because of these 13 levels of governments, each canton has his own educational system. And through the educational system, new generation, they cannot be open-minded because the school books are actually so old. Nobody is talking about gender issues. Nobody is talking about violence. Nobody is talking how can you be saved in your family. And that is where I see the problem. We have one side very hard economical and very so high percentage of unemployment. Other side, we cannot do nothing with educational system because I can, my side in Canton Sarajevo. But what is with other 13 levels? And after years, I can marry someone from other canton, and he is actually totally traditionally, his point of view is actually, most of people in Bosnia and Herzegovina think that women in Bosnia and Herzegovina should not be engaged in politics. And if you are engaged, they think you are frustrated, you are actually someone's lovers or from the party leader or something like that. Is very unpopular to be a female politician in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So traditionally I would say yes, but we don't have so many chances to change it because of this educational system on these levels.
Next question.
Hello, good morning. I was living in Sarajevo, working for the UN during the Kosovo War, and since then I'm very emotionally linked to Bosnia and to Sarajevo. Last year I had the opportunity to join the celebration of the Srebrenica anniversary. And I was very worried about the situation and the sentiment that I felt there of a completely split break among identities, Bosniaks, Serbs, and Croats. So my first question would be, what the parliament, the common parliament of Bosnia and Herzegovina is doing in order to strengthen the common institutions, the central government, and so on. And the second question would be, if you see now Serbia negotiating its membership to the European Union, Croatia nowadays is a member of the European Union, are you implementing the reforms in order to get the membership of the European Union? If you can tell us a bit about it, that would be very interesting.
Thank you. After the protests in Bosnia and Herzegovina 2014, European Union said, okay, we will have another issues in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We send them a reform agenda. Each institution in Bosnia and Herzegovina, each party leader signed this reform agenda. What is a reform agenda? That is 5 principles what Bosnia and Herzegovina should do if it wants to be a part of European Union. I'm actually from opposition party, but nevertheless, I think that Bosnia and Herzegovina will have the scenario like Greece, because in Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's not important which faculty or degree you have. It's actually only important which party members you are. And actually, if now the opposition party, the three majorities in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they have now all powers in institution, in country at all, and they actually choose who should be in some institution or who should be leader of some projects and everything. And competitive people are leaving Bosnia. Actually, our most competitive people are actually now in Germany. We have the wall of immigration, the most wall of immigration from 2015 until today. Actually, 60 years, we had also this wall of immigration, but in these 60 years, only the father goes to America, to Germany, to other countries, and now all families are leaving Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think in 20 years, 30 years, Bosnia and Herzegovina will exist only geographically, because nobody is actually now wants to have children. We have also, so nationality is under the mortality, and immigration we have, and actually our people are over the 60 age in percentage, and they are old people who, when we have, let's say now, the investors from other countries, they should come to Bosnia and Herzegovina to invest, to open the firma or something like that. We don't have young people who can be employed because they are leaving Bosnia and Herzegovina. And that is a problem, and the governments on all levels is doing nothing, because we have since a 90s year under competent people who are leading Bosnia and Herzegovina.
I would like to congratulate you for the excellent, your excellent conference, and the problem of violence against women is in all the countries in the world. Mm-hmm. And I would like to ask you about the public policies. Mm-hmm. Is there a national strategy and cooperation between ministers to fight against violence against women? Mm-hmm. Because it concerns the Minister of Justice, of Interior, of Health, of a lot of ministers that can cooperate for fighting against violence against women. And my second question, as we are in the Academy of Cultural Diplomacy, is there a role for the artists and for the cultural life to support women against violence? Is there aggression, ideas to aggress women, feminists, or how are you with the ideology against women or to support women against violence? Thank you very much. You.
Cooperation, ministers' cooperation, let's say from the state level. We as a state, as Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are actually sixth country which signed Istanbul Convention. And the first article of Istanbul Convention said the Bosnia and Herzegovina, each country who signed this convention, should have this cooperation body. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, cooperation body means that we should have one person from state level, one person from entity Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the third person is from other entity, Republika Srpska. These three ministers or people from the government should do everything to implement this Istanbul Convention. Where is the problem? The entity of Republika Srpska said, I don't care. I don't care for everything what is on state level. And they didn't send a person from Republika Srpska in this body. That is since 2015. Actually, 1 year we are waiting as a state of this person to implement all these measures what we signed. But Republika Srpska actually is not for strengthening state. She's actually only for strengthening this entity. And that is a problem, and I don't think that Bosnia and Herzegovina will do something on this part regarding we are actually only in this process to wait what will happening. Other problem is that the people are waiting, and we have a higher and higher percentage of violence. What we are doing, some of us of each level of government, we are very, very good partners with NGOs, civil society, and feminists organization. We are actually also a part of a feminists world group, where we are actually trying to find people who can from outside do the pressure on our governments. That is a very hard job, and I am in this part very optimistic, because when you in each entity, when you see that you have from daily more and more violence against women, and that is my point of view, that is not only against women, because the children are looking all these violences in the family, and you will have other generation of violence people and people with traumatic. And what we as a state, we should do everything. But my point is also to say that more civil society and NGOs are doing more on these issues as institutional of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Culture is very, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, very under all levels, because nobody cares about culture. We have very good represents in culture policies, but nobody is hearing of these people. Nobody is listening of them.
If you let me, I will take 3 final questions here,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you have more questions. I would suggest to approach Ms. Vrazali during the break, because we have to follow our agenda to continue with the next speaker. If you let me, we will take here 3 final questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a very unfair question, but you can answer or you don't. There was no problem during Tito's time. There is one place, if somebody is passing by, the place is very calm, no differences and so on. Now when Tito passed on, then you people had a problem. What was the secret that was keeping you people together during Tito's time? You can answer or you may be unfair question, but it is your choice. Secondly, second question is I seem to misunderstand the safe house. In a place, I seem to have a different meaning of safe house. Can you explain? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I was born 1983. Actually, that is the first generation in ex or former Yugoslavia of children which are not Tito's pioneers. That is actually was preparation for the war in ex-Yugoslavia. I don't remember Tito's time because I was very young. But I remember that my family was very happy. My parents have a job. They they smiled, and we enjoy our life during this time. In the war and after the war, I can say my parents are very unhappy. After the war, both of my parents, they couldn't go back to their jobs because the father is a Muslim and the mother is a Catholic. And for this, marriage is that is not good. And for the children in Bosnia and Herzegovina is not good because everybody is asking, who are you now? Are you now Bosniak or Croat? And we are actually, me and my sister, in the middle. What should we now say? Are we Bosniaks or are we Croats? And we are coming from a small city, from Livno, that is between a border with Herzegovina, and not border, but near Herzegovina, and near the border with Croatia. Split is the next city to Livno, but other country, Croatia. And now I see that not only people from former Yugoslavia wants to have their independency. I think that is also from other sides, from other countries, where the pressure, because when we would have today Yugoslavia, I will say that will be one of the most powerful countries in the world. Today we have these republics, 7 republics of former Yugoslavia, very high percentage of unemployment. We are not satisfied with our lives. We are not satisfied because our politics in each country of ex or former Yugoslavia, they are talking only about nationalism. They are not talking about inclusion, what we should do we know what happened, but we cannot live our lives to talk only about the past. We should talk about the future, about new generations, and to have our peoples in our countries not widespread in European Union or United States. The other question was safe houses. Safe houses for me is also the problem, because I think the perpetrators should go to the safe house, or not safe house, they should go to the clinic. Women and children, they are actually in Bosnia and Herzegovina, when they have violence in the family, they can go to the safe houses. But we have only 9 safe houses in whole Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we don't have enough space for each women and their children. And during this time in safe houses, the cantonal level should pay for this women, for this victim, 30% from budget, and Federation, the entity of Bosnia and Herzegovina, should pay 70%. We have a problem because not each cantonal level have enough money, have enough budget for paying this. And some cantonal levels say, I don't need safe houses, I don't care if I have this high percentage of violence against women or domestic violence. I must buy a new cars for my ministers, from my secretaries and whatever, and actually the women as victims, they during time in these safe houses, they have support from a psychological team, from other support. Actually, the 3 months she and the children, they have support, but the problem is if she have no chance to find a job, she is actually someone who goes back to the flat where the violence starts again. That is a problem.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but an intervention to agree with MP Maya's comment on the important role of education. Education plays a pivotal role in shaping and molding the mindset of youth, and in my opinion, combating violence against women should be addressed through 2 fronts. Education is one of them, from the bottom up, as well as laws that protect women, not just at home, in the workplace, everywhere. I remember when in 2012, as Minister of Education and Higher Education, one of the things I worked on was to reform the curricula. And obviously we started from the preschool. And the first thing I did was to remove all the gender biases, where women are perceived as working at, in the kitchen, at home, and men are working. So we removed all of that, and the same for the following elementary levels. So it starts from a very young age in making sure everybody accepts the other, whatever the other is, whether it's gender or nationality or whatever. So education plays a pivotal role. As far as laws are concerned, we also face the same, issues in the Middle East. We have to recognize that this is, the truth, and we have to do something about it. And you're very right. The public sector and ministries move at a much slower pace than NGOs and other organizations. But there has been changes in Lebanon specifically in order to, recent actually, in order to protect women. We had some very queer and strange laws before that have recently changed, but there's still a long way to go. And I think one of the other ways to protect women in every way is to allow women into the parliament and into the cabinets. And the only way to do that is to basically provide them with quotas. Things that, something that in Lebanon they have refused over and over to implement in laws, whether electoral laws or otherwise. So it's a very important topic, and I congratulate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a comment and question. Since 20 years in Armenia, we were trying to solve this issue, and we implement such laws. By example, 25% of the parliament members at least should be ladies, women. 40% of the staff of the bodies of the ministries. But we have got another problem. In 2 months, we are going to have parliament elections, and I have a problem being a party leader to find ladies, because their perception of politics is less, When you go to the ladies saying that, please come, etc., etc., her answer is that, well, I'm much more engaged to be an actress, to be, we have got another problem. Do we have such a law? Did you try to implement such a laws?
We have a very good law, electoral law in Bosnia Herzegovina. We have quota 30% of underrepresented sex, that is actually women in Bosnia Herzegovina. And this law said that the candidates list cannot be applied if you don't have underrepresented sex on 2nd, 5th, 8th and 11th positions. That means we have on the candidates list, let's say, women on the 2nd position. We can also be on the 1st position, but that is very hard because we have only party leaders, male party leaders. And if you are trying to implement also to say, okay, we can have also the women on the 1st position, you don't have enough support in the presidency of the party. But let's say that we have a good zipper system, is called these positions for underrepresented sex for women's. But the perception that is we also educationally and traditionally in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the perception of our voters is, okay, why women now in politics? Why should we have now more women in politics? And that is a problem. And the other problem is that we as women in campaign, we don't have the same budget as our colleagues for our campaign. That means that we in our, that is not only the problem of society. The most problem is in political parties. In the presidency, when we have 33% of women in Bosnia and Herzegovina are active politically engaged. That means that we have women in a presidency of each party, but they are too quiet. They actually should put their voices and said, okay, we want to have, first of all, in our party, equal position, equal budget for campaign. Also, when the media is calling the central cabinet of the presidency of the party, when they called, would you send someone to this program and everything, they sent on each topic mails. Why? Because they knew everything? No, because we have one problem. The women said, oh no, I'm not good prepared for this topic. Or the general secretary of the party said, no, why women? We will send the mail in this program. So that is also the problem that we have women that said, no, I don't want to go to the media, I don't want have all this campaign to go from one city to another, but also we have good enough women with open-minded and point of view is others, not so traditionally, but we don't have equal start positions.
I just want to say that there are many surveys that shows that women are more transparent, less corrupt, and better managers. Thank you.
Thank you very much one more time for this interesting presentation and for all your answers. Please join me in a round of applause
Thank you
for
very much.
Miss Maja Gasal-Vrazali. Thank you.